All right, sports fans out there, that's right. It's Brutus, the Barber Beefcake, and you are listening to Interactive Wrestling Radio.
You're listening to Interactive Wrestling Radio, featuring the interactive interview, courtesy of WrestlingEpicenter.com.
Not bad, man. How's it going?
I'm doing really well. Oh, actually, let me start you off with a question that we've received from quite a few people since we announced you were coming on our show, and that has to do with your early days with Hulk Hogan. A lot of the listeners want to know how genuine your friendship was with Hulk Hogan through the years.
Best of the best, man. Mike, he is he's family, to this day. He's family. He's like more of a brother than my real brother. I don't know what else to say. He was there for me in 1990 when I had an accident, and basically I was high and dry, had no one to turn to. He was there, pulled me out of the fire, fed me, took care of me, clothed me, got me back on my feet, got me back in the wrestling business. I owe him everything.
Are you guys still friends today?
Yeah, absolutely.
Are you, this is kind of a stupid question, doesn't really pertain to you, but are you happy to hear that he's going to be inducted into the Hall of Fame?
Absolutely.
There have been a couple of rather negative guests about you that we've had on the show. I will give you one name, and that's Bruno Sammartino, who joined us, and he made a couple snide comments, and I've heard it on the internet a couple times as well. People saying that if it wasn't for Hogan, you might not have made it in the business and all that stuff. I personally think it's ridiculous, but how do you answer your critics like that?
You broke up there for a second. You're saying that people said that if it wasn't for Hulk Hogan, I wouldn't have.
They said.
Wrestling wouldn't have been a wrestler.
Yes, that's what Bruno Sammartino actually said to us.
What do you expect from a freaking loser like him? He's just pissed off because I beat his ass in his hometown of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. He got his ass whooped by a guy in pink tights. I guess I can understand why he's a little upset. And I kicked his kid's ass too. So all the Sammartinos are losers. As far as me and Hulk Hogan go, I wrestled with Hulk Hogan's brother for 6 years. Okay. When Hulk decided, not anybody else, that he wanted me to go on my own because he didn't want me to be known only as Hulk's little brother. He felt that I had plenty of talent, enough to make it on my own, and he wanted people to see that. It's pretty easy to see, therefore, that Brutus Beefcake, who was not Hulk Hogan and not in any way, shape, or form connected to or like Hulk Hogan in any way, was a huge success as Brutus Beefcake, and who later went on to be Brutus the Barber Beefcake, was even a huger monster success worldwide. Had nothing to do, wound up teaming with Hulk Hogan in pay-per-views and WrestleManias. So how could any jerk-off with half a sprain even begin to think there's anything like that going on that I wasn't able to succeed, that Hulk Hogan. What did Hulk Hogan do for me? Hulk Hogan went out and wrestled for me. Hulk Hogan, thousands of matches, main events, pay-per-views. No, I don't think so. Brutus Beefcake went out there, got the job done, was popular, and that's the end of the story.
I believe it, sir. I absolutely agree with that. Jake Roberts was on the show, and he gave us an interesting story about how the Brutus Beefcake name came about. I'm not sure if this is any truth, but he mentioned that it had something to do with some kind of a gay magazine in San Francisco called Beefcake, and I don't know. I mean, it just sounded like a funny story. I thought I'd run it by you and find out if there's any truth to it.
No, I've never heard of it. The name came about, as far as I know, when Vince McMahon's wife liked the name Beefcake, and I was in his office with Hulk Hogan, and we were trying to come up with a gimmick and a name, and we thought of the name Brutus. Hulkster actually said, well, what about Brutus? They wanted to call me Baron Beefcake. Hulk said, well, what about the name Brutus Beefcake? And so to me, I looked at him, we looked at Hulk, said, all right, yeah, that sounds good. And then I went to Florida, sat down with a clothes designer, cooked up that whole beefcake spandex outfit shit, who later everybody copied. I was the originator, not the imitator, brother. Let's get it freaking straight here. I was the fucking man that pioneered all this shit. All these other clowns came along and copied everything I did later, okay? And then that's how it came about. Jake Roberts is running on about half of a freaking brain cell after you smoked 500,000 pounds of crack. So what would we expect out of him? Tell you a good story. I'm sure he could tell you a good story, but as far as being truth in it, no. There's no truth in it. I mean, Beefcake may have been a name that was mentioned in a gay magazine somewhere sometime, but it had nothing to do with me, and it had nothing to do with my name.
How about somebody that you are going to be reunited with in some fashion on May 14th, Greg the Hammer Valentine? Of course, you were his tag team partner, won the tag team titles with him. How did you enjoy teaming with Greg?
Greg and I are great friends to this day. I speak to him all the time. I enjoy working with Greg anytime. It's one of the greatest times of my life, being the World Tag Team Champions, Greg the Hammer Valentine. He's a great professional, a great human being, and a great wrestler, second-generation wrestler.
Where did the idea to do the hair-cutting Barber character come from?
As far as I know, probably something Pat Patterson cooked up. His gay lover, whose name was Louie, was a hairdresser. So as far as I know, I don't know. It's just something that could have got cooked up in the back room at Vince's office one day, and to me it was like a rib on me, because Brutus Beefcake was getting over huge. Why would you want to switch something that's getting over huge? Doesn't make any sense to me. You know, it's like taking Hulk Hogan and telling him, all right, you can't be Hulk Hogan now that you're getting over huge and you're a success, let's change your name. So to me, brother, it was a screw job, okay? But at the end of the day, because I am a talented and pretty wily coyote, that I turned it back around on him again, took Bruce the Barber Beefcake, made a huge success out of it, turned it around, made it, and took it 10 degrees, 10 levels farther than they ever even dreamed about, and then made a huge success, even bigger than Brutus Beefcake, out of the Barber. Blew everybody's mind. Nobody ever thought I could do it. Once again, I didn't do it because I was Hulk Hogan's friend, brother. I did it because I got talent, and I got know-how, I got willpower. I get out there and kick ass so both shoes are shitty. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely, and just so you know, I'm not the one who said that. I actually believe that you did it on your own. So.
Another popular question that we have from our fans has to do with SummerSlam 1988. As you were slated to face the Honky Tonk Man and win the Intercontinental title from him. Of course, you were taken out, and the Ultimate Warrior was put in. And can you tell us why this was done? And do you feel they were pushing you aside at this time?
Well, the Warrior threatened to quit. He was a big crybaby, and I guess that was how Vince had to placate him by giving him the title. Yeah, as being pushed aside, I was kind of getting screwed.
Were you comfortable telling us about the parasailing accident? I mean, is everything okay now? I mean,
I had 8 titanium plates, 32 screws, 100 feet of stainless steel wire in my skull. Yeah, as far as being okay, I'm 100%. As far as being able to wrestle, I do it. The doctors, as far as clearing me to wrestle, no, they refused to ever clear me. It'd be insanity for anybody to have that kind of surgery. They didn't want me driving a car, but I had to keep going on with my life. I couldn't just lay in the bed for the rest of my life. As far as making a comeback, they never predicted I would be able to do anything that I did. Just goes to show you, it's all about cojones, man. Do you have the willpower? Are you going to be a pansy, a pussy, and lay down and die? Or are you going to get up and keep fighting? Brutus Beefcake is a fighter. You don't give up ever. That's why I am a success. That's why I will always be a success.
They did a lot of magazine-style interview shows. Of course, Piper's Pit was the predominant one that came out. Then Jake Roberts had one. Then you had one with the Barber Shop. Did you enjoy doing the Barber Shop?
Absolutely. Barbershop was another huge success that they had to bury. I was getting over too big. They had to figure out some way to take it down too. You know, it's just a shame that you get rewarded by sometimes by being successful and being good. You don't exactly get rewarded for it. You get taken down when you get over too much. People want to chop you down to size, want to bring it back to earth.
Yeah,
that's what happened.
You went to WCW with Hulk Hogan in 1994, and you eventually turned heel on Hulk, resulting in the Starrcade 1994 main event. Rumor has it that Curt Hennig was supposed to be the masked man, and when that fell through, they gave the gimmick to you. Is there any truth to that?
Nope.
Any memories of the late Curt Hennig?
Yeah, big time, brother. Curt Hennig was one of my best friends. I knew him since he started in the business. I started before he did. I know his father well. I worked with him since he started in the business, and I knew his family, his wife, his kids, and absolutely I have memories of him. And it blows my mind to think to this day that he is no longer with us.
Yeah. And also in WCW, you had so many different characters. You had Brother Bruti, the Butcher, the Man Without a Name, the Zodiac, the Booty Man, the Disciple. Which of these, if any, was your favorite and why?
Well, the Disciple was definitely my favorite, and at the end of the day, because of trademark problems, not being able to use Brutus Beefcake, that's all the dancing around the names and all that thing. They kept saying at the end that they could not repackage me because I was just too well known as Brutus Beefcake. So Hulk and I sat down, cooked up the Disciple gimmick. I came out, no one, and I mean no one, knew that I was Brutus Beefcake. And the gimmick got over and would have kept getting over, except for some jealous pricks named Eric Bischoff and his bunch of cronies. We just couldn't stand the fact that I was going to get over huge. Once more, when the character was a person they said that they could not repackage, I came out and blew everybody's minds. And then, then they came out with this One Warrior Nation. The Warrior came in, they handed me off to the Warrior, and then the Warrior quit and left me hanging out in Nowheresville again, and then. That was the beginning of the end for the Disciple, unfortunately.
So from what you just said, I'm guessing you didn't have the best of relationships with Mr. Bischoff?
No.
The last time I saw you on WCW was actually a match against Hogan, and of course you were Flair's crony. That's the last time I remember seeing you anyway. It was on a match on Thunder. When did you officially leave WCW?
Sometime in 98 or 99, probably.
Were you surprised WCW went down the way it did?
Not at all, because how can anybody screw up such a good thing? Well, when you got some of the people that Bischoff hired, I don't even want to name names, but he cut his own throat. He killed the territory single-handedly, along with help from some other people, Diamond Dallas Page being one of them. There's just no talent, guys that don't want to work. All they want to do is get paid. They got what they wanted. It was better. He hired a bunch of losers, got rid of all the guys who were money makers and really had talent, and then people were stuck with all those losers. What happened to the company? They went bankrupt. They went down.
Yes, sir.
You still work the indies these days. You still enjoy getting in the ring?
Absolutely. Fans love me. It's in my blood. I'm doing 29 years. You just don't stop one day. You don't like it unless you're bitter and towards the business like the San Martinos.
You're in the latest WWE video game, SmackDown vs. Raw. Of course, we mentioned already that Hogan's in the Hall of Fame this year. Any chance we'll see you in the WWE Hall of Fame in the future?
Well, since I'm not in charge of making that decision, that's a tough question. But if I had to guess, I would say definitely Brutus Beefcake will, it's only a matter of time, be in the Hall of Fame. The guys they are inducting are much older than I am and been around the business longer. They just inducted Greg last year, Tito, Hulk. I mean, so as far as probably and the group of guys that I'm with, it'll be in the next year or two.
We recently had Nikolai Volkov on the show, and I'm sure you're going to find this statement as funny as James and I do, but he claimed that Hulk Hogan killed the business. Do you have any response to that?
I think he was joking with you guys.
He sounded really serious with us, but on May 14th, actually, you'll be making an appearance for the Valiant Brothers reunion show in New Jersey, and you and Greg Valentine were managed by the great Johnny V in the mid-'80s. Are you looking forward to paying homage to the Valiants?
Yeah, I saw Johnny V. I know the Valiants. I knew him before, and I know him now. Definitely looking forward to seeing him. I saw Johnny last year at a couple events. We're still good friends, and I see Captain Lou. I see everybody. I saw Nikolai about a month ago. I'm in touch with a lot of guys, and I see a lot of guys.
Yeah. Well, that's excellent. Well, we're going to ask you, you mentioned tough questions a couple minutes ago, and you can feel free to not answer this if you don't want to, and we'll cut it if you don't want to answer it. But there was a story last year that broke about a drug bust with you. What are you comfortable telling us about that, if anything?
Well, it wasn't really a drug bust. It was just some information that was leaked out by people I was working with. But it really amounted to about nothing. If it was a drug bust, I'd have been arrested. So it was all a bunch of bullshit, basically. People covering their asses. So, you know what? Nobody's perfect. I'm not perfect by any way, shape, or form. I pay for my mistakes. But at the end of the day, I was never charged with anything. Do you know anybody that gets caught with drugs by the police and doesn't get charged?
Nope.
No. Okay. So
not unless they're guilty. Yeah.
If you just think about it, obviously it wasn't what it was all trumped up to be. It's a unique situation. It takes a lot of time to try to explain the whole situation. But at the end of the day, that's not the case, and it really was. So.
Okay. Can we finish off with just a couple word associations? This just, if you have a story, feel free to share it. If you only have a word answer, that's fine, and then we'll let you go. And we do appreciate your time all this time, by the way, sir. All right. The name I have for you is Ted DiBiase, the $1 Million Man.
Good man. I enjoyed working with him. He's a minister now. I work with him, and for his organization. A few months ago down in Florida. I like Ted, always have.
How about a guy that many people say built his career on your show, on the Barbershop, the Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels?
I haven't seen Shawn since I left the WWF, although I have seen his partner, Marty. I like Marty a lot. Marty and I are good friends.
Yeah, us and Marty, we go back a few years now. We interviewed him a few years ago, and we stayed in close contact. I'm very happy to see that he's back in WWE, at least it seems to be for the next little while anyway.
Cool. Yeah, I hope he's doing well. Shawn, I never was really close to Shawn. Marty has been a good friend. I've known Marty, got to know Marty much better in the past few years.
How about somebody that I'm not sure how you get along with? How about Ric Flair?
I got along with Flair. He said some not so nice things about me in his book. So, hey, when my book comes out, I'll probably say some not so nice things about him.
Are you writing a book?
Could be anything's possible. Could be in the near future.
Wow. How about the former president of WCW, Eric Bischoff?
I think he was slime ball. He's a gutless wonder. Anybody that trade your wife off with somebody else's wives and stuff, I don't have no respect for him.
How about the last name we have on the list, and then we'll let you go? That would be your former boss, Vince McMahon.
I don't always see eye to eye with Vince, but he's a good, he's a hell of a businessman. I mean, I respect what he's done. He built an empire. I mean, you can't say enough about him being a businessman. Took wrestling to a whole nother level. I don't really see eye to eye on some of the directions they've gone and some of the things they've done, but that's life. And I think that I thank Vince for giving me the opportunity to make money and making me a big star worldwide.
How about one last question, and then we'll let you go. This is a pretty blanket question, but hopefully you'll have something for us. Do you have any regrets?
Any regrets? Absolutely not.
None?
Yo, maniacs, this is Hulk Hogan, the greatest of all time, and you're listening to The Blaze. So what you gonna do when Hulk Hogan in Blaze of Mania runs wild on you?
Enjoying what you're hearing? Be sure and check out WrestlingEpicenter.com on social media at Facebook.com/WrestlingEpicenter, on Twitter at James Epicenter, and of course, WrestlingEpicenter.com for 24-hour news updates, our interview archives, and all the other information you've come to expect from the Wrestling Epicenter.
Don't you ever say word up again, Mike.
That's like the other day when you said, if anyone says Big Show versus Akebono is their most anticipated match, I will smack them in the face.
Okay. All right, well, we're, of course, covering WrestleManias 11 and 12 this week, and 11 opened up the way that it probably should have, with Vince McMahon pretty much commending people that were actually watching the event. Thank you to us, our loyal WWE viewers. I think he was realizing that the tide was switching with the loss of such superstars as Hogan and Savage and soon-to-be others. But
Luger?
Yeah, I mean, Luger didn't leave until later that year, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, soon-to-be him, though.
Yeah, and speaking of Lex Luger, he was teaming at that point with the British Bulldog, Davey Boy Smith, as part of the Allied Powers as they faced the team of 1,000 gimmicks. Of course, this time they were known as the Blues Brothers.
The Blue Brothers.
Blue Brothers, that's right, not Blues Brothers, not to be confused with the blues singers, but the Blue Brothers, who are pretty much well known now as the Harris Brothers, Disciples of the Apocalypse, I guess you could call them.
You mean Creative Control?
Creative Control, yes.
The Grimm Twins?
The Grimm Twins, yes.
Skull and 8-Ball?
That's the ones.
Ron and Don Harris?
Yep. All of the above.
Team Tracy.
Team Tracy, yes. All of the above.
Wow, that's a lot of gimmicks. This match showed you how far a guy...
And that's still nothing compared to Brutus Beefcake, though.
Oh, no.
They're the tag team version of Brutus Beefcake.
Yes.
14 bajillion gimmicks.
This match showed you how far a talent can fall. I think Lex Luger was the Eddie Guerrero of 1995, as Eddie will now be very low on the card after having that world title match. Luger, of course, had a year ago had that world title match with Lex Luger that had been built up for a year, or it seemed like. And this year he's curtain jerking with Davey Boy Smith, and as James said all the time, the coolest thing about this gimmick was the music. They went against the Blue Brothers, and I believe they got the win. Am I correct?
Yes.
They got the win, and the only cool thing about that gimmick was the theme song.
Yeah.
So Luger's theme song in 94, 95 was actually pretty cool, and combining it with the British Bulldog's theme was actually very well done.
Yeah. One thing I want to say about the Blue Brothers. Did anybody else think they looked like the Berserker?
Oh, yeah. Who the hell was the Berserker, anyway?
I have no idea.
John Nord. Was John Nord the Barbarian? Was that the Berserker?
I don't think so.
I don't know. Anyone who knows this, you get like a free book or something if you answer that question. Okay, take us down the line, Jamie boy.
Anybody know why I'm saying Huss? Because that was Berserker. He screamed that in the ring all the time. I'm sure you guys really wanted to hear that. Match 2 on the card was the Intercontinental Championship match as Razor Ramon with the 1-2-3 Kid defeated Jeff Jarrett with the Roadie. Of course, I wanted to say Road Dogg, who he later on did become, but he was the Roadie at this point.
Check out our archives for 2 of these guests.
Yes, yes. Yep. And hopefully 1-2-3 Kid one day, if China doesn't beat the shit out of him.
Oh, I hope he's not listening.
Okay.
This match was, it was built up for a while, which I always like. If you at least put the hype machine behind it, it's only up to the wrestlers. James likes to say this match was just the same as most of their others, and quite frankly, he's right. Jarrett saved his title by DQ as a heel tactic that was perpetuated by not only the Heartbreak Kid with the count-out in 1993, but by Mr. Perfect Curt Hennig when he took on the Big Boss Man. This was Honky Tonk, too. This was just a standard Razor Jarrett match that we would see quite a bit. And, that's really all I have to say about it. What about you two?
I honestly thought this was the best match on the card, which isn't saying much, but...
Wow.
Yeah.
I will have an argue with you a little bit later.
All right, well, how about I go ahead and I do this in my Howard Finkel voice. With special referee, American League umpire, Larry Young, who everybody knows, The Undertaker with pole bearer, defeated King Kong Bundy with the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase.
That was the worst Howard Finkel impression I've ever heard.
From the Department of Corrections in Cobb County, Georgia, the Big Boss Man.
This was a continuation of DiBiase's quest to destroy The Undertaker from the summer of '94 when he brought in the false Undertaker. Of course, you can hear our interview with R.D. Reynolds to how we feel on that gimmick and how he feels. I'm not going to rehash it. This was a problem that Undertaker had for a while in the mid-'90s of having opponents that were much heavier that he couldn't get them up for the tombstone, so people really forgot he had the move for a while. Of course, he couldn't do it to Bundy, so he finished him off with a choke slam. Guys?
This match could have been much better, I think, but they did the whole story with the urn, and I think that really hurt it.
You mean when Karma turned it into a necklace?
That was awesome.
Yeah. They should have, if they were going to do that, they should have done it after the match instead of, like, halfway through it.
Right.
I felt really hurt it, but...
Yeah, I just thought this entire card sucked, but that's just my opinion.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's go to match number 4 on the card, which was the Tag Team Championship match, and it was King of Hearts Owen Hart and Yokozuna with Mr. Fuji and James E. Cornette defeating the Smoking Guns.
Well, of course, this match was continued, and Yokozuna, till the day he died, would have always appeared in a WrestleMania with a match with one Hart in it. Yokozuna was brought in as the mystery partner of Owen Hart. James, I know you got some comments on this tag team. I'll let you get to that in a second. And of course, they went on to capture the tag team titles from the one-time champions, the Smoking Guns, who would go on to capture it 2 more times. This was a fair match. It was, once again, shows you how far someone else can fall, as now Yokozuna was mired in the mid-card. And that's all I have to say. What about you guys?
Well, go ahead, James.
I have really nothing.
Remember it.
All I really remember was that the Owen Hart and Yokozuna tag team on the surface seemed to be a mongrel tag team, but they actually worked well together, and they kept them together for a fairly long time, actually. So I guess you would actually have to consider them a successful tag team.
Yeah, and, with his weight, Yokozuna was able to work well with Owen because he didn't have to work the whole match by himself. He got to take breaks. So I thought they meshed well together.
Yep, and up next was the I Quit match with special referee Rowdy. What?
Oh, no!
Oh. Special referee Rowdy Piper as Bret the Hitman Hart faced off against Mr. Bob Backlund.
Robert Backlund. This is another very long built-up feud, and that was one of the only things this WrestleMania had going for it, was that they actually took time to build up the matches. It started, when during the Survivor Series build-up, when
which might have been one of the top 5 greatest matches I've ever seen. The Survivor Series match.
Of course, that match ended with Owen threw in the towel for his brother Bret, and Backlund won the world title. People said, "Oh, the old guy won the title," but guess what, guys? He's younger than Flair. Tidbit for you. This match wasn't as good as their. It was good quality, but it wasn't as good as James said, as their Survivor Series contest. Of course, Roddy Piper for the second year in a row refereed a Bret the Hitman Hart match. And, of course, at the end of this match, Bob Backlund is talking to JR, and JR says, "Mr. Backlund, what can you tell us about the match?" And he's like, "Oh, I've seen the light." And I guess that was the presidential campaign angle, but I don't know, it just didn't seem to fit or anything.
No.
Yeah.
I didn't really like this match, and I'm a Bret Hart fan.
No, it was not one of their better matches.
No, it sucked.
I don't think it sucked.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's going a little far. But
I don't know, I just didn't. Compared to their last match,
yeah,
it just felt.
It didn't capture anybody's imagination, I guess you could say.
Especially since Bob Backlund didn't really quit. He just yelled incoherently into a microphone.
Uncle!
Did he say uncle or?
Yep.
He didn't say I quit. He said uncle.
I just heard.
That is uncle in Robert Backlund speak.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Which we'd all speak if he won the presidency.
Yes.
Okay. Next match on the card was, in many ways, should have been the main event of the evening, as Big Daddy Cool Diesel took on the Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels.
I will go against Mr. Patrick's claims that the Razor Jarrett match was the best match on the card, and I will say, without a doubt, this match was one of the best matches on the card, and one of the better matches of the year, quite frankly, in my opinion.
That's a little generous.
I know, of course, James probably won't agree with me. I don't think RSBH will either, as I've seen his WrestleMania 11 report. But nevertheless, I thought this was a great match. I think it was probably one of Diesel's better matches in the WWE. Friends always work well together, and of course, Shawn was getting cheered more than he was getting booed, but he was doing a very good job as a heel because he was trying his best to be hated. It just wasn't working at the time. Obviously, the opposite would come into play a few years later. But this was it was a fast-paced match. They went back and forth. This had been built up for a while, obviously, since the turn had occurred at Survivor Series 1994. And, Shawn, a lot of people had always done the little man was the face, big man was the heel. I'd never really seen a high-profile big man versus a little man when the roles were reversed. And Shawn took that in a way to make him the very pesky, arrogant heel, as opposed to normally you can tell the monster heel will be feared, and that's where he gets his hatred from. So Shawn played that role well, and I think they played to each other's strengths. James, I'll let you talk about the powerbomb.
I think he threw him so far that Michaels actually landed on his feet.
It was a pretty wacky powerbomb.
He picked him up and he threw him, but Michaels' feet actually seemed to almost come down first. I haven't seen it in a while, but I remember thinking as a kid, wow, he powerbombed him so far, his feet hit, and then he went down on his back.
And he beat him with it.
Right.
That looked pretty weak.
Yeah, I will say that was not the best one. Of course.
Guess what? You know why it looked weak? Because Shawn had already expended his energy super kicking him, and then the ref was out. So guess what? Shawn should have won that match. How do you like that, guys?
You're such a mark.
I am so marky.
Up next.
When I look back on it, Shawn winning might have been better. I don't know, but
yeah. But then we would have lost out on Diesel's. If you're not wearing a glove, I won't shake your hand.
And we would have missed out on Diesel versus Mabel at SummerSlam. Hello.
14,000 matches with Sid. Those were classics.
On paper, they looked like they would be really good. Not so much in execution.
You must have them be using some pretty wacky paper.
I mean, I don't know.
Speaking of pretty wacky things,
on paper is a good idea, but sometimes it doesn't.
You have to. One of them has.
Kane put on a good match, as we'll get to in our next.
One of them has to be a mat general, and unfortunately, Sid and Diesel were both kind of guys that you had to lead.
Yeah. On a rope to the coffee table. Okay, I guess we'll go to the main event.
Up next is a match that probably should have been First Platoon of Cocaine.
First Platoon of Cocaine. Oh, yeah, brother. Dig it.
As it was Lawrence Taylor who spent all his $1 million up his nose against Bam Bam Bigelow.
The scary thing was, I think Lawrence Taylor wasn't even clean during his football career. Think how good this guy could have been clean. I mean,
Right.
it's friggin' scary.
He was one of the best. You know what? I'm actually from the state that the Giants play in, which no New Yorker can claim. But
hey, guess what? You're New York Junior. How do you like that?
that's not nice. I lived right outside Giant Stadium. LT was a legend, and regardless if you liked him or not, his personal habits, he was a fantastic football player.
Oh yeah.
But he was a horrible professional wrestler.
Yeah.
With the amount of training he had, he didn't do so bad. I mean, you granted, I'm not going to say he's even near sucky, but he did better than I expected him to do. Mostly he threw clotheslines and shoulder blocks, but he was a football player. Felt sorry for Bam Bam, and he got his push a little later in one of the worst King of the Ring main events of all time. Tag team match for the main event of the King of the Ring. Go figure.
That was great too.
Yeah.
Yeah, 95 WWF was wonderful.
Time for WWE.
And that's when you started having those in your house pay-per-views every week. They were about an hour long and about $30 to buy. So
no, they were $9.
They were horrible. They were. I never.
Were $9.
I would never have bought one.
They were $9.
Okay.
I actually bought one of them, and that was a show where the electricity went out. And
Beware of Dogs. Yeah, that was great.
Free one though, didn't you?
Yeah, I did, but I was still pissed off that night.
Did they actually continue on with the lights out?
Yes.
They did?
I don't know.
I'm almost positive they did, because I remember the next night on Raw.
Because they came back on for the HBK main event.
Right, with the double pin or whatever.
I mean, that just shows that, God loves Shawn Michaels. But
you were an idiot.
The whole thing, to put the spotlight on himself. That's what that was. I'm just kidding.
So, we'll get our final thoughts here. I'll give mine first. WrestleMania 11 was a low point for the World Wrestling Federation. It showed that, media. The thing is, media covered this event like crazy, and they were very interested. And I think WWE even snagged a few new viewers. But the thing was, the product was so terrible they couldn't keep those viewers, and that was a big problem for WWE during that time.
Right.
Well, I mean, they were trying to figure out what to do next, and they didn't know really where to go. They couldn't really figure out where to go in the post-Hogan era. They had Brett, but they just didn't know what to do. They didn't have that marquee name, and I don't think they ever got that name until the Austin era.
Yeah, Patrick?
Right. I've always thought that this was the worst WrestleMania out of all time.
I wouldn't say that, but it's
really?
up there.
13 might give it a run for its
I
money.
think 13 would give it a
13
run.
at least has the I Quit match.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it was a Raw's War.
Yeah. This one was below Raw's War. This was like a Saturday Morning Superstars almost.
All right, well.
With a football player in the main event.
Let's get to the next card.
Yeah.
That would be my job, wouldn't it?
That would be your job, my friend.
All right, well, let me get there. Let me pull up the results. I'm going to clip this when we're done. Where are we at?
WrestleMania 12, was this the one that had the Huckster versus the Nacho Man and the free-for-all? That was terrible, huh?
That was not...
Well, of course you two would hate it.
Nobody found it funny, and I remember that the crowd booed after it because they were just thinking, this is the most jealous bullshit in the history of television. This is
I just thought it was just horrible.
This is not even funny. This is just jealousy at its base.
Well, we won the war.
You did win the war, but you were losing the battles every week then, and that's why. Or you were about to, anyway.
Yeah.
2 weeks after this card.
Bald-headed, finger-flipping redneck.
What'd you say?
They were just lucky they got their bald-headed, finger-flipping redneck.
Oh, you let them go.
Yeah, we did. Well, I don't know. I was watching both, but I didn't really pick sides. But
okay.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah. WrestleMania 12, emanating from Hollywood, California. And the first match on the card was a six-man match with Vader, the British Bulldog, Davey Boy Smith, and the Rocket, Owen Hart, as they defeated Yokozuna, Ahmed Johnson, and Jake the Snake Roberts.
That's a nice assortment of stars.
Don't do that ever again. The story in this match was people wanted to see Vader get his comeuppance from a guy who was actually bigger than him for his assault on Gorilla Monsoon. They never really got the definitive one-on-one match between Vader and Yoko. In this match, they got to see Yoko chokeslam Vader, which they enjoyed, and of course, they got to see Jake back in Mania, which was good for them. I mean, this was just a standard 1996 opener. That's all I have to say. Patrick?
Yeah, like I said, it was nice to see Jake Roberts back, and it was good to see him interact with guys like Owen and the Bulldog, and Vader was always one of my more favorite big men, so it was cool to see him at a WrestleMania, and that goes back to what you guys were saying. Anybody who's anybody has participated in a WrestleMania. So,
yes.
Yes,
yeah,
sir.
One thing about this match I thought was strange, Mr. Fuji waving the American flag. Because he was.
Yeah, well, that just shows you sometimes how absent-minded WWE booking is.
Well, don't forget, they were in Hollywood. So the way to get heel heat in Hollywood is to be proud American.
Okay, let's not start anything again.
Eric's outnumbered this time, so he's going to be quiet. All right, up next was the Hollywood Backlot Brawl, as Rowdy Roddy Piper defeated Goldust.
All right, well, I'll take this one, dumbass. Goldust in this match is obviously supposed to be Goldust and Razor Ramon. But obviously Razor was leaving and they didn't want him on the show, so...
And he was probably out somewhere trashed off his ass.
Hey, yo, Chicos, shut the hell up. I'm talking about my match here.
Okay.
So they put Roddy Piper in because who doesn't want to see the Hot Rod kick Goldust's ass at this point? I remember in my elementary school we were all weirded out by Goldust because I was a fifth grader and I didn't know what to make of him. He had a woman, yet he had a dressed up in women's clothing. I didn't understand it.
But he didn't just have any woman.
He had Marlena.
Who was gorgeous.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like he had some ugly woman that you can say, well, I would be gay if I had to sleep with that. But...
Yeah. So this match was, they did the OJ parody, and they had some really scary moments with Goldust trying to run over Piper with a car. And, of course, in the end, he stripped Goldust to his undergarments and laid a big smackaroo from old Hot Rod.
Yes, sir.
That's good.
I just remember...
Pretty memorable, yeah.
It was actually probably one of the most memorable matches on this card, despite the fact that it was, in my opinion, a weak card except for the main event.
Patrick, any thoughts?
Yeah, it was just typical Roddy Piper intensity and energy with a lot of new stuff. Like the WWF was starting to go towards that more hardcore activity kind of thing, and this was one of the first matches that went in that direction.
Yes, sir.
Crazy.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Okay. Up next was Stone Cold Steve Austin with the $1 Million Champion. He was actually the $1 Million Champion.
He was still Stone Cold at this point, though.
Yes. Stone Cold Steve Austin as he defeated Savio Vega.
This was, I mean, they were really scraping for scraps on this card, but believe it or not, this match actually had a story behind it. It was supposed to be Savio and, I believe, Razor in the tag team title tournament, and Austin replaced Razor, or I can't remember how it went, and they turned on it. One of them, I think Austin turned on Savio, and then they had this match, and of course, with help of DiBiase reviving the referee, Austin got the win with the $1 Million Dream.
Yes, he did. Any thoughts, Patrick, or was it pretty much just...
Yeah, it's just any other match. Steve Austin's first WrestleMania match, so I guess for that alone.
Well, he's going to show you something next year, I guarantee it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Up next is the match that Triple H probably does not want you to see. As
See it, Daddy.
As Triple H faced off against the Ultimate Warrior.
What was the time of this match? Was it 106?
Let me take a look.
It was like a minute and a half.
So
there is no. Let me see. Quick. Yeah, Seems about.
In any event, I think it's 106, which would probably make it, I think, I'm not very good with math, but I want to say 1% of the time for the main event. This match was before the infamous MSG curtain call, where the Clique members broke kayfabe, contrary to popular belief. Triple H was not being punished. It was just to get the Warrior back. The place wanted him back. Unfortunately, Warrior did not want to be back, as we would see in later months, and he would bolt again, showing really that once a Warrior, always a Warrior. Patrick?
Interesting thing about this match, the same building, or the Arrowhead Pond, where this show was held, is where WrestleMania 2000 was held. And that year, Triple H went on to retain the WWF Championship.
Only heel to win the main event.
Wow. So he came a long way in 4 years.
Yeah, but contrary to popular belief, that was before his real-life relationship with Stephanie McMahon. So
he was already a two-time champion before that happened. So
yeah, he was a three-time champion when he retained his belt.
All right. Up next was a match that I thought was a fairly decent big man match, believe it or not, as The Undertaker defeated Big Daddy Cool Diesel.
This feud started when Diesel cost The Undertaker his match with Brett, because Diesel wanted Brett at the Royal Rumble, and Undertaker won by DQ, but obviously in WWE you cannot win the title when you are disqualified, or when your opponent is disqualified. The next month, Diesel and Brett fought in a cage match, and Diesel was sucked into the ring by The Undertaker. Of course, that all led to this match in which Undertaker got up from 2 jackknife power bombs, chokeslammed the hell out of Big Daddy Cool, and then finished him off with a tombstone pile driver to send the man, well, before he went to WCW, and main evented the pay-per-view next month, but still, sent him off to WCW.
Yes, sir.
Nobody has any comments on this match?
Well, this was the last really good pairing between two WWF stars that you hadn't really seen yet. They had never put these two together, so it was like the dream big man match that the WWF could offer. And I thought it was a really good match. I really enjoyed it. Undertaker's always been one of my favorites. So I thought it was really cool to see him destroy Diesel. That was
this really helped his persona.
I think
James?
Yeah, I thought it was a fair match. I think this helped the Undertaker seem like more of a monster because he defeated the former WWF champion, WWE champion, I guess you would say today.
Right.
He beat him, and he beat him pretty convincingly. So, I mean, it was a good match. And he got up from the power bombs.
Yeah.
He buried him alive.
And right after this, The Undertaker started feuding with Mankind. Yeah, that was the best feud Undertaker ever had. So
I would disagree with that, my friend.
You would disagree, or would?
I would definitely disagree wholeheartedly.
Let me guess. You like to feud with Shawn Michaels?
My favorite feud of all time.
Okay.
It's a slasher pick. It's a slasher pick for personified.
Yeah, that was a great feud too. So.
Let's go on to the main event, Jamie.
Yeah.
Well, I don't remember the main event. It was too damn long. It was, of course, the Iron Man match between the Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels, and Bret the Hitman Hart.
You're getting better at that imitation, James.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's all in the projection.
You guys go first.
Okay, well, I always felt this match was slightly overrated. I don't think it's the best match of all time, but I do think that it is a classic, and it is one of the more unique WrestleMania main events, and it was a great showcase of wrestling between two guys that could really get it done.
If I can chime in, I will say that I agree with you. It is both a great match and overrated. I hate when people think that just because it's a long match, that means it's a great match. But it was a really good match. I just don't think it was the greatest match of all time, like some people say it is. That said, I know Eric has a different opinion than both of us, so Eric, fire away.
Greatest match of all time. This is my opinion. I love this match. Of course, you gotta understand, my favorite wrestler won the world title for the world heavyweight for the first time.
The boyhood dream has come true for Shawn Michaels.
Okay, some of us like that, James.
That was gay.
This is like Hogan body slamming Andre for me.
Come on, Vince.
All you want, but it comes up on all the highlight reels.
Yes, it does.
And Vince did a good job selling it, but I just personally never saw Michael, not at that time anyway, saw Michaels as a main eventer.
Yeah, because you wanted old bald guys.
Hey, Michaels is about Hogan's age now that he was.
Not balding, and he doesn't seem old.
He seems old, maybe, but not balding. That's true.
Except for Brett ripped out his hair. So you know, I love.
Hey,
that too.
From a guy who's had hair ripped out of his head before, I take offense to that.
They went hold for hold, and Michaels won with the super kick in overtime. I personally thought this was the greatest match ever. It was a great way to end WrestleMania for me and a lot of people who are Shawn Michaels fans, and it made me really enjoy this WrestleMania, I think, just with that main event, and it's a classic. I don't think anyone can deny that.
No, it is a classic. And Brett was the perfect guy to put Shawn up against for him to win the title, because they were just so even.
Yeah.
And they went 0-0 the entire time, and that worked really well.
Yeah, it made both guys seem very strong.
Yeah. So you didn't see either one of them going down at the end of it. It was like, holy shit.
And they screwed Brett because they made him go 3 minutes overtime.
Yeah, well, guess what? Shawn should have already been the champion of the year before, so this match should never take place. And guess what? Shawn probably would have still been the champion today.
Got you there.
He never ever would have lost. He would have beaten everybody.
He would have.
The Bears.
The Bears.
I love that. Who's winning for the Bears versus the Bulls? All right, well, WrestleMania 12.
Ditka. Only if Ditka's playing.
We were about to exit out of the dark ages for the WWE and enter into a new era.
Well, not quite yet. We got one more dark age coming up next round.
Well, yeah, but the sun was starting to come up.
Yeah.
In the form of a bald,
I see the sun shining.
redneck who would change the business yet again, named Stone Cold Steve Austin.
I see the sun shining.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us.
I'm going to close out with a song that I think is very, very, very appropriate. It is a song called Lit Up by Buck Cherry, and if you listen to the chorus, you'll know why.
Before we go, I want to thank our special guest and always a friend of the show, Mr. Patrick RSPH. Since I don't know your last name, it's Kelly, actually.